copy of my birth certificate, which she duly requested from the government. When it arrived, I opened the envelope and found myself listed as Geddy Lee Weinrib. What the fuck? Mom, I said, what's going on here? It says my middle name is Lee, not Lorne. She looked away, thought about it for a moment, and said with a sheepish laugh, Oi, Take, yeah, I think maybe you were Lee. Your cousin. He was Lorne. I forgot. Huh? You forgot? I'm not sure which freaked me out more, my sudden loss of identity or the fact that my own mother couldn't remember my effin' name. I recently discovered that my cousin Gary Rubenstein was in fact the actual recipient of the middle name Lorne. The best explanation I have for the mix-up is that Mom would only have been speaking English for a few years by the time I was born. The anglicized take on Eliezer was for her just an afterthought. And after she and her siblings made a group decision to name all their firstborn male children after my grandfather, she misremembered which middle name they'd agreed on for me. But wait, there's more. My mom usually called me Garshin at home, saving Gary for when we were out in public. Then one day in my early teens, I was hanging out in front of our house with my pal Bird, and she called me indoors for supper. Hey, Bird said, if your name is Gary, how come your mom calls you Geddy? She doesn't, I said. Her accent only makes it sound like that. He laughed and said, well, I'm going to start calling you Geddy too, and that was that. When I turned pro, the Musicians Union application form asked for professional stage or band name, and I thought, how cool. Perhaps I should be ashamed of this, but in my desperation to assimilate into a less ethnic world, I didn't think Weinrib sounded very rock and roll. Lennon, Plant, Clapton, Moon, Hendrix. Now those were effin' rock star names. In an attempt at self-justification, I asked myself if Robert Allen Zimmerman had had similar fears before he became Bob Dylan. So I combined my nickname and rediscovered middle name to create a professional moniker for myself and legitimize my new aspiring identity. A few years later, I took that even further and changed my first name legally to Geddy. By then, even my siblings were calling me Geddy or Ged, so it was all good. To people who asked, I'd explain, it was like in Leave It to Beaver, where the kid's real name was Theodore, but everyone, even his parents, called him the Beaver. At any rate, as you can see, I had two identities right from birth, Gershon Eliezer and Gary Lorne. And now, Geddy Lee made 3. Chapter 1. You may naturally assume that I grew up in a house rich in music, that my desire to play must have grown out of musical influences all around me. But music was in little evidence in my childhood home. The radio was always on in the car, but I don't recall Dad ever speaking about music, or mentioning any artists he liked, or even humming along as we drove. I just thought music didn't register with him. It wasn't until many years after his death, when I was playing a show in Detroit and reconnected with the family of his only surviving brother, Sam, living in the suburbs of the Motor City, that my Aunt Charlotte let slip some startling information. It's so nice that you have become a musician, she said casually. After all, so was your father. As my brain reeled, she continued, oh yes, back in the old country he played the balalaika, I think. Parties, bar mitzvahs, weddings, and so on. All I could muster was a, really? It seemed so out of character with the man I thought I'd known that I wasn't ready to believe what she was saying. Was he really a player? If so, music must have thrilled him in his early life. And oh man, what questions I would have loved to ask him. But foremost in my mind was why my mother had never mentioned it. Seeing as I was a professional musician by that time, you'd think it would have been a pretty vital tidbit to share with me, no? I was more perplexed than angry, and immediately after getting home from that leg of the tour, I asked her to verify the story and give me an explanation. Visibly embarrassed, she proceeded to relay this to me. For a while after their liberation, my parents lived in Germany, at the displaced persons camp at Bergen-Belsen, formerly the officers' quarters of the concentration camp where my mom